Hello and welcome along to the NUFC360 podcast. We're back after quite a bit of a hiatus with the weekly podcast. I'm back with two out of the three of our regular guests. I'm your host, Stuart. We've got Matt and we've got Max. How are you, Matt?
I'm all good, thanks, mate. How are you?
Cool. I'm very good. Yeah, I'm good. Glad to be back on. It's been far too long, but life and the World Cup got in the way. So, Max, how are you, mate?
I'm good. Looking forward to Thursday, first Newcastle game in a couple of weeks. So that's made my week to be able to watch us play again, even though it's a friendly.
The last time prior to sort of the long break that we had, you were going over for a couple of games, one of which was the Chelsea match. Is that right?
Yeah, it's true.
How was that?
It was amazing. I went to the Palace game the same week before, and it didn't quite live up to like the, I don't want to say expectation, but it was an expectation of how the atmosphere is going to be, how the game, see goals. It was a really great penalty shootout. We won. Pope said massive free penalties, but the Chelsea game was just unreal. Winning 1-0 and dominating Chelsea. It was hard to believe that it was Chelsea we were playing and not like Everton, because they were so bad that day. Because we were so good as well. The scenes after walking down to the city, it was a great day. Remember it for the rest of my life.
So glad you enjoyed it, and so jealous. I'd love to go for myself for a game. But yeah, a lot's been talked about that. Well, look, folks, we're back. We're chatting about Newcastle. A lot of the World Cup. It's currently ongoing. It is 2-0 to Portugal at the moment. You're not missing too much. I'm sure Mark was up to date. Mark with scores and things like that. But it's we're back talking about Newcastle, and as someone that doesn't follow England, Max can attest. Less you're outnumbered, Matt, tonight. I'm not that arsed about the World Cup. I'm enjoying it. It's getting tastier now, and I'm looking at those final couple of matches, quarterfinal, semis, and they're looking good. I'm more interested than I was, certainly. So I've just missed talking about Newcastle. Okay, well, on that note, we're going to start with our first topic of the evening, and it is the trip to Riyadh. I did have to look up the pronunciation of that. To Riyadh in Saudi Arabia. The rest of the squad, most of the squad, because really we only have three folks at the World Cup, Bruno, Pope and Wilson, are all at the sort of Riyadh sort of stadium there. They have a game coming up on Friday, which we'll talk about. We're going to have a bit of a chat about that. It's been nice to see a bit of social media coming out of the boys and Eddie and the owners doing stuff. Max, start off with you tonight. And I suppose a very general question, so feel free to talk around this. What impact are you hoping to see from this trip to Riyadh? Are you hoping to see it similar to the previous trips, or just generally bonding? What are you hoping to come out of this?
Yeah, I mean, we saw last year when we went to Saudi Arabia that it had a positive impact on the team morale and the unity of the squad. I think we came back a really strong outfit. The guys fighting for each other a lot, and I think that comes from team bonding. So I hope that we have the same kind of experience this time. It looks like they're having fun, also as training really hard. It's important to get back to the match fitness that we had before the break, and even though we looked very tired towards the end, we still had so much energy in the start of the season, and I hope we can have the same now, because if we can get going directly after the World Cup break is over, it would be great to keep sort of hovering around the top 4 spots. And I think also for players like Isak, who hasn't been so much involved with the squad, I think it would be great for him just to be hanging out with them, and also other players.
Yeah, I mean, there's Producer Mark told me it's now 3-0 to Portugal, so it looks to be they will be through the next round. Ramos scored again, linked with us, Benfica striker in the summer for mega money. We went for Isak, as Max just been talking about, and we'll see if that's been a good decision. I think it is, but we'll talk about that. I definitely think it is. Matt, what are you hoping to see from this trip? Similar to Max, or anything different?
Yeah, just the same as previous trips we've done. When we first went to Saudi Arabia, it seemed like when we come back, things just completely transformed, and it only ever seems to be positive and a good thing that we do go away and have this, this team building and have that time together. It's been perfect as well, because I've had a couple of weeks to have or a week or so to have a bit of a break. And I've been desperate for some content, and it was great to see all the lads are all smiling faces, no pun intended, and they've all literally landed with loads of flowers. It's like they're being treated with royalty, and it's just great to see. And going back to the other trips we've done away, if there's anything like those two, we'll be absolutely fine. Especially when we see other players who probably haven't been involved in the first half of the season. Some fringe players that might get a couple of minutes in a couple of the games of the next few.
I was going to ask you about that, so I'll ask you now. I mean, because that was one of my questions. Is there a player or players that you would like to see come into the squad or starting 11? Because it's quite a tight starting 11. It's hard to shift. But anyone who's currently not really in the fringes that you'd like to see come in, based off maybe performances you see or this break that we've had?
Go on, Max. Sorry. Go on.
It's hard to say because it's. I mean, the starting 11 we put out and the players we have used I think is pretty strong, and I don't really want to change that much, other than maybe Isak, but that's hard to tell also because he only played 3 games. But I mean, maybe someone like, I think the 2 players that I think would need to take these chances now the most is probably John Shelby and Ryan Fraser, because they haven't played a lot, and now that both Bruno is away and there's opportunity to maybe battle your way into the front line for Fraser could be something to do. Also for Chris Wood probably, but we all know that if Wilson and Isak is fit, they're gonna play ahead of him.
Yeah, I mean, Wood and Fraser have been rumoured quite heavily to be out the door in January.
Yeah,
Wood move back to Leeds. Fraser linked with Southampton, I think, wasn't it? Southampton. I can see both of those moving on. No harm done, both have been decent enough, but they haven't really done it. Eddie hasn't called on them too often. One of the things that's come out, well, Matt, sorry, very rudely interrupted you because Max had given his point. What players would you like to see come in, or would you be interested to see come in?
Well, we all know what Shelby can do, just from the previous years, but it seems as though that midfield freeze, you can't really move him at the minute. So players coming in who probably haven't seen the best of is probably like your Elliot Anderson's. He hasn't really had a lot of minutes, probably because we've been doing so well. There's no need for him to come in. But it'd be nice to see him get some minutes, see how he gets on, and see whether he can start a couple of games going back into the Premier League season, because I haven't saw enough of him yet. But apart from that, your John Joe Shelby, he just come back from injury. We know what he can do, but it'd be nice to see if he could, bring some nice added competition to the midfield for it to keep them on the toes a bit.
Yeah. One of the things that's come out recently, and it's been during the World Cup in general, has been extra sponsorship. So, we had the whole just before the Chelsea match, actually, the Saudi Airlines was announced as like the tour partner. And I think we talked about it in the podcast briefly because we mentioned the fact they seemed to be testing the water with what this would like, and their reception to be very positive. No one really cares. We're just like, right, great, more money, fantastic. And so that looks to be taken over. And someone made a very good point on Twitter, saying that in all the advertising stuff and all the media handling, there's been no Fun 88. And that might be because it's gambling and you're in Saudi, so that raises further questions. It also could be the fact that they're maybe just shifting them to the side a wee bit. I don't think they can bin them until the summer. At least I don't know. But it does look to be that's definitely on its way out, and it'll be something like Saudi Airlines or similar for either the stadium or the shirt sponsor. What was also announced this week was STC. No idea who they are. They're a Saudi firm. I think it's something to do with internet. I don't really know. Don't really care. It's to do with money. What, in terms of that whole area of picking up new sponsorships, are you happy for Newcastle to be going over to Saudi, picking up those sponsorships and then coming back, or would you rather it was local? What are your feelings, Matt? I'll start with you here.
I'm a bit mixed on that one. Probably a bit of both. Obviously, we'd like the bigger financial advertising coming in. I did read that the Fun 88 deal might be ending a year early. Whether that's true or not, there's been a lot of flirting with Saudi Airlines, hasn't it?
Does that mean January?
I think so. I read that too.
Oh, cool.
Yeah,
I'm not
sure.
That's half a season. It'd be like, remember Virgin Media? No, that was Virgin took over like halfway through a season because Northern Rock folded. So it was the same shirt, 2 different sponsors, like halfway through the season. All right. So
yeah, you saw a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, you've seen a lot with Saudi Airlines as well at the minute, with having pictures at the stadium and then me and Dad tweeting it and then using Saudi Airlines to fly over to Saudi. It seems like a lot of flirting, and it's almost like they're testing the waters a little bit to see whether they're going to use them or not. It seems like a very obvious choice.
They are really.
Yeah.
That's the worst.
Yeah. So I'd be happy. It'd be nice to see. It'd be nice to see local businesses coming in as well. Anything like that would be great. But the first ones are the big ones.
What are your thoughts, both of you, on, because I'm very superficial with shirts. I love my shirts. Max, both of you love your shirts. I can tell from behind you. I've changed rooms, so I haven't got any shirts up. But what do you think of the sponsor? It's okay for me. It's better than Fun 88. I loathe that sponsor. Not do the company. I just think it looks awful, and I hate the blue in it. I think it's very distracting. What do you think of this, of the actual logo itself? I'm going to look up the logo because I'll start to type myself. What do you think, Max? Start with you. What do you think of the logo?
The Saudi Airlines one.
Yeah, it's pretty basic.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like a kind of logo you can blend in quite well with the kit. It doesn't have that, like you said, the bright neon blue kind of color. It seems like you can dim it out, maybe like some, I don't know if it's a light purple or something. It's pinkish sort of color, but I mean, I'm fine with it. It could be good. Maybe a bit of gold in it.
I love their actual logo bit with like the swords and the palm tree. I think it's a circle.
Yeah, that's cool.
Just had the circle, like a circle in the middle, would remind me very much of that shirt behind you, Max, the Newcastle Brown Ale. To have a circular badge in the middle would be, and an Adidas kit would be, oh, we're getting there. Like no text on it, just the circle. That would be class. But it depends if they would do that. Matt, what do you think? You love your shirts, as you can tell.
Yeah. Are you sure? Yeah, I quite like subtle ones. Yeah, like quite nice subtle ones. I don't like anything too in your face, especially if it's a one that's probably not local. Like the Newcastle Brown Ale one, I quite like that. It does stand out a little bit, but it's a local one, isn't it? And you don't mind that. And it sort of suits the shirt. You look at that certain shirt and you think, okay, Newcastle Brown Ale. But if you look at other ones, it has to be subtle. If it's not, if that makes sense, it has to be symmetrical to the shirt, so it looks, just nice, not too standoutish. That's my opinion, anyway.
Yeah, I put a logo in the chat, and you'll see what I mean. And for everyone watching, it's essentially just the logo bit without the word Saudi Airlines. Look up the logo, no lines. That would look mint on a shirt in the middle. That'll be class.
Yeah, a bit of gold would be nice.
Oh, because it's the one color, it can. This is what would be my thing about the shirts. What used to drive me nuts, and it's been every single sponsor we've had since Brown Ale has been like, right, here's our color of our sponsor. Fun 88, Northern Rock was pink, Fun 88's blue, Virgin Media was red, and all of those sponsors were like, this is our color. And when you bring your new shirt out, our color is going to be the color it always is. Whereas other teams like Spurs do sponsored by HP, and they were like, oh, thank you, Producer Mark, just that gold bit there. So they were like, oh, your kit's black and white, is it? Yeah, it is. So we would quite like maybe a black sponsor. Like, nah, we're gonna have a red Virgin Media. So the HP would change the color of their logo to match the shirt that they're on, home, away, third kit. And our shirts never did that. It always stood out. So I'd love to see something blend in with us, which would be great. Anyway, yeah, I think we're all pretty similar on that, to be honest with you. So Wilson at the World Cup, Callum Wilson hasn't done too much through no fault of his own. He set up a goal there, and he played quite well, I think, when he's come on for England. But down the pecking order, Kane's been pretty fit, so he's played, understandably. What would your thoughts be on? He comes back, he's quite tired. Assuming Isak is fit for the new game, I know he's not going to play in these friendlies, he's still going to warm, but assuming he's sort of match fit and ready to go, what would you do with those two for the opening games, our first running games? Would you interchange them? Would you start Wilson? Would you let Isak work his way back into the team, or would you play him on the left? What would you do with those two? I'm quite eager to know about that. Matt, I'll start with you.
Yeah, I've said previously I'd like to fit them both in the team if you can, but I think it all depends on who you're playing. If you're playing different opposition and different places. It depends what Wilson's feeling like during the week in training. You know, if you feel like there's a bit of a sniff of an injury, then I'll be starting Isaac, because I saw it, I think it's yesterday, that Wilson hadn't trained because of a slight little knock or something. I'm not sure. But it's a shame he's made of glass. So I feel like he needs a lot of protection, and Isaac can bring that, I think. But, you know, if they're both fully fit, then I definitely want to put them in together.
His calves are made of biscuits. We've had this discussion before. He's just falls to bits when he's finished class. Mac, what about you?
Yeah, I'd also like to see them both, but I still can't see how that would work. I mean, I'm not a football coach. No, I found it hard to believe. I mean, for me, Isak is not a winger. So when we only have we play with two wingers, so I get the fact that we played like Almiron, like some sort of like false. I don't know what's called, false winger, because Trippier has been overlapping and Byrne been staying back, so we basically played like a free at the back and pushed forward them. But still, it's in defensive positions. Almiron is like a right mid, so it's, for me to see Isak play like a right mid or left mid, whatever side he would play on, is still very weird. So, but I think the interchanging between the two, because I think they bring different kind of things and could be useful in different kind of games. So to like change and give Isak some time to settle in, because the Premier League is super hard to settle into when you play in the Swedish league, Dutch league, and the Spanish league. So give them some time. I think it would work out.
Well, we all know what Eddie will do. We know Eddie won't start Isak unless he has to. That's what we'd like to see maybe different. And I agree with you too. I quite like to see them play. I don't think it's possible though in our system, and so therefore it's probably going to be what you're both for saying. It'll be Wilson unless he's injured or carrying a knock, and then it'll be Isak if he can play, of course, until probably, I don't know, maybe a year or so from now, maybe when Wilson starts to get even more injury prone and you have Isak as your backup. I think I'm hoping he's happy with that. So I stand corrected. According to producer Mark, I had said initially the friendly against Al Hilal FC is, I said Friday. It is on Thursday. I should have said it is at 5 p.m. He checks again to make sure he's not incorrect. And also, Mark, while we're talking, producer Mark has also said Funny Date is ending at the end of this season, and the search sponsor cannot change mid-season. I thought the Northern Rock one changed, but then maybe that did circumstance.
That did change mid-season.
Maybe because it's company out of business, you can't show company that's on there.
Yeah.
So unless Funny Date go to business, you probably can't change that. The game on Friday, it's a friendly. We'll not take too much stock on that. I will 100% be watching it, or at least the highlights if I can. I have to get time to watch it because I miss watching Newcastle. What do we think of it, friends? The last friends we had were our friendlies in the summer. That was really, really, really useful to watch, and you could see a real intensity. What we saw was a preview of what we're going to see this season. What are your expectations, or your predictions from that? It could be lineup, it could be plays, it could be just general tone and new players. Just what are your thoughts on that? Max, we'll start with you.
Yeah, I think it will be. I think the coaches would like to see us just to get back to match fitness, as I mentioned earlier. It's about getting back to that sort of a level of intensity and trying to push your body physically to see if you can manage it still. And I think that's what we did pretty much the first 3 friendlies last in the summer. We didn't get the results quite, but we pushed really good intensity, and that I think will be the same for this sort of mid-season break. And I think that's good, because if you come back fit when the season starts, we have a lot of players out now in the World Cup who will come back tired, and that could be a really beneficial thing for us. And also, like I said, also was the players who maybe don't play, like Shelby and Wood and Mankio Lascelles, to maybe get the opportunity to show what they can do. Even though I still believe that when the good players come back, they will still play. But they can at least try and give themselves a shout. And like my Matt said about Anderson, maybe we can see a bit more of him.
Yeah. Matt, what about you?
It's a tough one, really. I personally think he's going to go with the majority of the players that he has been playing already, just to get those fitness levels back to where they were before the World Cup. He does seem to have a 15 14, 15 that he likes, and the rest he don't seem to get too much of a look in. So I feel as though they're not much as a priority, but the ones obviously he's going to start with, he's going to prioritise them, I feel, and he's going to be starting those in those friendlies. Maybe add a couple of ones like I spoke about earlier with Anderson and putting John Joe Shelby to see how he gets on. But, you know, the priority is really for me, or hopefully Eddie Howe sees it as well, is that he'll play the majority of the same team, just to get the fitness levels back to where they were. You know, the intensity levels, you know, just before the World Cup were just crazy. And he's obviously not going to drop those standards in any way. So, yeah, going back into it, I feel like that's where he's going to be at with the team.
Sorry, Richard Marks just said Ronaldo in the mud because Ramos just scored a hat-trick to make it 5-1. I mean, in terms of coach decisions, how vindicated do you feel leave Ronaldo on the bench and then absolutely smashing someone in a last 16 game as class?
Dude, I've been saying this to my friends for ages now about Ronaldo. He's just not the player he was. He should have been dropped a while ago. But it's his name, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. That was another rumour about Oscar. Many of the we're playing. Are the team we're playing, is Al Hilal the one he's signing for? Or apparently signing for?
No, Al Nasser, was it?
Al Nasser. Al Nasser, right, fair enough. I wasn't sure, and it was a Saudi team, or in that sort of area.
Yeah,
yeah, it's so funny that, or it was us. Like, there's no way. If you listen to Eddie Howe talk, like every time he would sign him,
no way.
shirt sales, like he doesn't give a shit about shirt sales.
Doesn't care.
Why would he sign him? Like 3 years ago, oh my word, that would be like,
is that going to help you win games? Is it shirt sales?
Yeah. Anyway,
ridiculous.
yeah. I mean, it'll be interesting to line up, but we'll have to move on, gents. I'd like to talk about that a bit more, but we're going to move on. A big thing for us has been TV games. Occasionally, Newcastle got picked for games, usually when it's up against one of the bigger teams, quote unquote. And so it's a watch get thumped, or maybe there's a narrative there. It's an old player, an old manager, maybe it's a relegation scrap, more likely that. Very rarely have we got picked just because we are mint, and that does seem to be what's happening now. So out of the next swathe of games, 9 of them have been rescheduled for TV. Now, some of them just slightly rescheduled, a couple of hours to 5:30 and things like that. But just picking a few here. So I'm going to give you a few of our opponents, and you tell me which are the big teams here. Bournemouth, Leicester, Leeds, Arsenal, Sheffield Wednesday, that's in the cup. Fulham, Palace, West Ham, Bournemouth, Liverpool, Brighton. I have 2 there. Well, thank you, producer Mark. Very nice. So yeah, Liverpool, Arsenal, our big team, as in, traditionally big team. All the rest of those teams are all, we would class as lower. We're the big team in that one now. We would have argued we're always been bigger. Yeah, tens figures, blah, blah, blah. But I think that's what they're looking at. Like, people want to watch Newcastle play now. They play really good football. They're exciting. They're intense. They score goals. They're defensively very solid, and that's good to watch. They're playing really well. The one thing that does stand out there is that out of those games, only 2 of them are 3 o'clock kickoffs. So there's 9 games without. That's Leicester away on Boxing Day, twice a 3 o'clock kickoff, and it's televised, and then Leeds on New Year's Eve, which is not televised apparently, which is okay. So that's quite a lot of movement. Does that, more you, Matt, I suppose, is more is directed at you, who is someone that goes to games obviously more often than Max and I. Does that affect things? Do you think is that a negative, or is that an advantage? The fact that they're moving games, some in the earlier in the morning, some in the evenings. What's your thoughts on the fact they've moved so many of these to not 3 o'clock kickoffs for TV?
It's you can see it from both sides, can't you? The people who don't get to go to games like yourselves, then it's I feel like it's a positive. All these games are going to be on TV.
Great. Well, Max gets every game anyway, so he does. So it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I'm moving.
But the people who like the old-fashioned 3 o'clock kickoff, then people who pay for a season ticket all like to go to the games because they can't see them on television. But they're thinking, I wish I didn't bother. For certain games that they pay to go to because they're going to watch it on television. But it just seems as though these TV companies have just jumped on the bandwagon. They saw how well we're doing, and they're thinking, right, here we go. We'll have a bit of that. We'll show this on television. It does look amazing, though, with the atmosphere of the crowd. And Newcastle are on the up, and you know, all these Amazon Prime and Sky and BT, they've all just jumped and thought, you know what, we'll have a bit of this. We'll be part of this.
We're the 5:30 kickoff. I'm just trying to work this out because, to be honest, it looks like 4 weeks in a row. It's at least 3 weeks in a row. So that's crazy. So yeah, we are the golden goose, it seems to be, which is great. It's just lovely. People want to watch us. As we've always said, we just want someone that tries, plays good football, and we're getting that. It helps we're winning, but it is pretty cool. Max, you get every single game anyway, so you're probably not bothered either way, to be honest, about when or where they are. But I suppose from thinking about you and where you are location-wise, does it affect you moving the games later on? A lot of these kickoffs are 5:30. A couple of them are 7:45, 8 p.m. kickoffs. Does that affect you over in Sweden?
Yeah, it's it's a bit late. The games end maybe a bit too late for my taste, but for Newcastle, I can take it, and it's I'm mostly glad for you guys in Great Britain, because then you don't need to scramble for bad streams or anything. You can just watch it on the TV and enjoy the game.
I would never use the stream, Max.
Okay.
Never, ever. So, and I'm on record as saying that.
Fair enough.
Big wink. I mean, what? Yeah, cool. Okay. A river. So I don't know. So yeah, that's totally fine. Yes, it's good. I don't think we're in a disagreement there. Well, we'll have we chat about the World Cup. And we've obviously we chat, the NUFC360 group, we chat offline because we're all buddies and friends. And I've gone on record saying I don't really care about this World Cup, to be honest with you. The season's been so good for Newcastle that it's a big distraction, and it's been a bit glib because actually it's the World Cup and it is always quite good fun, and it's getting better now. It's getting much better now. Matt, being the resident Englishman on the pod, England doing really well. They've been really impressive. They've been amongst Portugal, absolutely rinsing Switzerland, Brazil winning substantially last night, and probably England with the three favourites at the moment. France did well, but Poland have been poor, I think. So maybe France. So maybe you're four. What are your feelings? Do you? I'm not going to ask can you win it, because you can win it. That's obvious. You have the squad to do it. Maybe we don't have the manager, but you definitely have the squad. Do you think you will win it?
It's difficult because being a Newcastle fan, you're used to not winning anything, and I've been saying to my friends, we got to a semis and the next step was the final. Now the next step is to win it. It does seem like the next progressive step, and it'd be perfect to see Southgate step out like that. Personally, I'm not a huge fan of the way we set up and the way we play with some of the players we've got. Yes, we win and we comfortably win, but it'd be nice, wouldn't it, to see an England, well, not for you two, but for an English fan to see our team just, play like an Eddie Howe style. We're sort of sport now, aren't we, when we watch Newcastle? And you think every team you watch now should be the same, but it's just not the case. He seems to set up very sensibly. He always likes to put in two holding midfielders, and you see Kane dropping deep. It'd be nice to have a striker in the box, all that type of stuff. But he's getting results, and Southgate always seems to get a lot of results in it when it matters. So I can see us winning, but I would be lying if I didn't say I've been watching Argentina more, because I want Messi to win the World Cup very badly.
Do not let us sway you in this one. It's a genuine question. England win the World Cup or Newcastle get Champions League football this year? What would you say?
See, if you said
I think that's quite easy, though. I think Champions League for Newcastle would be.
Well, I mean, yeah. I hardly agree with you, Max. I think that's the obvious choice.
Yeah. See, the thing is, if you'd have said trophy for Newcastle, I would have said yeah. But if it's just Champions League, we'll just get it the season after. So I'm going to go with the World Cup of England.
That's fair enough. To be fair to you, I don't think
it is club over country.
Yeah, that's fine. Look, there's no shame either way. am the same with Northern Ireland, but it's more because we're so awful and have been awful for years, and we've had a couple of little sunshine moments, but it's so depressing and awful, and so that's probably why, you know, that's been the way for me. If we've grown up and been decent, maybe. Christian Mark says we're already going to get Champions League football, and then imagine having 3 World Cup winners in our squad. Sure, there would be 3. You're quite right. It would be 3. Sorry, Pope Trippier thingy. This is true. I won't ask Max because he's already answered it, and so have I. From a non-England fan point of view, Max, what do you think of England? Not the country. The team.
Man, it was great. It was great.
Greg's.
Greg's was it was great. That should be our new sponsor, Greg's.
Yeah, people would like that.
Yeah.
No, I think they look. I have missed some of their games, but I saw the one against Senegal, and I think they look good. But also, a lot of the teams that are left in the competition now haven't really had a big test so far in the group stages. I mean, don't get me wrong, they're really good. There are good teams in the group stages, but I mean, England beat they beat Iran and Wales. That's like, okay, you don't really, you know, compare the squads, you know, England has a squad worth
exactly
like 10 times more. And they drew to United States, which was like, okay, and they looked really poor in that game. You know, play Senegal, also the same thing again. Their squad is just 10 times better than theirs, and still, Senegal has some good players, but 3 good players don't match up to 22 good players. So for me, it's really hard to say if they're gonna win it. The real test is now against France. If they can beat them and beat them convincingly, I'd say they have a really good chance of it. But I think now it's when you see which countries actually are like the best composed and built up teams and have the best individuals. So it would be interesting to see now. I really like the quarterfinals more because now you really see like the best of the best.
The real football starts now, isn't it? The real football starts now.
And ask you two, who do you two think will win the World Cup? The pair of you?
I think it'll be someone that hasn't won it before this year. I don't necessarily think that's going to be England. It might be. I kind of think it might be their year. Everyone's been so poor. But then just recently, the past couple of nights, I've started to see teams that are like Brazil stand up and smash someone. Portugal smashing Switzerland. You know, France smashing Poland, beating them comfortably, maybe saying that. You know, so who I think will win it? I actually think it might be Holland. I think someone will win who hasn't won it. I think it might be someone that Holland. I think no one's talking about them. There's no pressure. No one's even mentioned them, and yet they're in the quarters. They have blah 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 blah. Who do they have coming up?
Argentina,
who I think are rubbish. Have not been good. Messi's been good. He's picked up and all. Do not think they've been good at all. I think they've been really average. I think they could put them to the sword. I really do. And then they're against Brazil, and look, that's a test. Brazil have been very good, but even at that, you know, they're there to be got at. It's so hard to call. I can see Netherlands winning it or Brazil. I can see England, France, or Portugal. It's as we've just said there. It's getting tasty now, and you can see all those teams. Oh yes, they can have a go. Sorry, Max, you have a pop.
Yeah, no, it's hard to say because, like I said, no of the teams have really had a test yet, and from what I've seen, I think Argentina, you know, there's a good attack, but I don't think the team like sticks together so well. They're like they're missing something, and Brazil as well. They lost to Cameroon. I know they rotated a lot, but they lost to Cameroon, and you know. Their second team is still better than Cameroon's first team, so you would imagine them winning the game as well. Now, you know, Argentina lost to Saudi Arabia, France lost or drew it or lost to Tunisia or something. You know, it's so hard to tell. But for me, I think the best team. I think France will do it again. Maybe.
You think so?
If they can beat England, I know Kylian Mbappe is just so good right now. If England can't stop, if no one stops him, it's just gonna be him scoring goals after goals.
Don't worry, you've got Matt has Kyle Walker marking him. That'll be great fun. Apparently,
Yeah, but I mean, if Joe Willock can outpace Kyle Walker, then Mbappe can, and Sam
what are you doing?
Exum.
What are you doing? Anyway, yeah, it's a good question, Matt. Yeah, I don't know. I suppose none of us know, but I've
It's
always
open,
had
isn't it?
I hope Argentina does it. For
yeah,
Messi.
yeah. My heart says it'd be lovely for that, and I would love that myself. I just don't think they've been good enough. Of
No,
all the
I
teams
agree.
I've probably watched most games of, because I've been caught up on that romanticism about Messi and wanting to see him do it, and it's just yeah, he's been okay. He's come alive some games, but as a squad, have just not been as good as I thought they would be. Brazil have been a bit better. A lot of the big teams have been quite disappointing, to be honest. Spain,
Like Max
Germany.
said, yeah, a few of the teams haven't really, like, nobody's really been tested. Like,
No,
the first real test is England, France, isn't it? Really?
Oh yeah,
So,
I mean it starts now. Even so, if we go through it there, because that's what I was going to talk about anyway. So we've got quarterfinals. We have fiddly diddly dee.
I mean, the only big game in the group session was Germany-Spain, and that game was a 1-1 draw, and both of them are out.
I'll be
now.
honest. Croatia, Brazil is the first one.
Oh yeah, sure.
They're winning that, aren't they? That's right.
yeah.
Would you disagree, Matt?
I think Brazil could win the World Cup. To be fair,
They have the squad.
I'm gonna do a bracket here. So they're beating Croatia. Would you agree?
Yeah.
I
think
so.
Croatia have been poor. They're just about.
Oh, yeah, they haven't been great.
It's so impressive though in Croatia to be in the knockout stages.
Again, they got the final.
Yeah, I mean they came second last time, and to be in the knockout stages again for a small country like that, I think it's super impressive.
Yeah.
Well, the week before, provides some fantastic footballers. Argentina, Holland is the second quarter. Who's winning that? What do you reckon?
Argentina.
I'm gonna go Holland. I think Holland will win it.
I mean, it's just because I don't think they have been so good, Netherlands. It's like
I don't. I just think they've been solid enough. They've won all their games, I think, but they've been very consistent generally.
Yeah, good managers.
A good defense, despite Van Dijk, he's still a very good defender. They have a good defensive. De Jong is a good player, and they have a couple of decent. They miss a really good forward. I don't think the pie is quite as good, but what do you think, Matt? Netherlands.
Yeah. If it's a Copa America Argentina, then Argentina will win. But they had a bit of a rocky start against Saudi Arabia. They did okay in the second game.
You got to call it. You have to call
it. I'm going to go Argentina because I feel like they've been. That first game was a bit of a stumble, but I feel like they're getting back to the field.
We'll stick on that side on the bracket then. So that means a Brazil-Argentina semi-final, which, by the way, just more of that, please. I will have all of that. So who's winning that one then?
Brazil.
Well, you saw them in the Copa America final. It was Argentina, but I feel as though Brazil will have the number this time. So I'm going to
Brazil are getting to the final then. So other side of the draw, Morocco versus Portugal. We're going to assume Portugal have won. They're 4-1 up at this stage.
5
more actually. 5-1 up. Sorry, apologies. Morocco versus Portugal. Who wins that?
I think Morocco did really good, I guess, against Spain today. Really good defensively, but I think Portugal is a bit more direct than Spain. Spain is. I hate what Spain plays. It's like a bad version of Man City. It's just pass, nothing happens. So I think Portugal is more dangerous. They have more directness, more creativity in their attack. So Portugal will probably win that one.
I agree, Max.
Yeah, Portugal. Yeah.
So Portugal, England, France. I'll let you go last here, Matt. You can have a think. I'll say England. I'll say England.
I wasn't so impressed with France. It's just Mbappe that's so good, and Griezmann has also been really good for them in Giroud, scores goals. But other than that, I think Poland had the better of them a lot of the time of that game, and that was like the first really big test. And England is a good counter-attacking opponent. I feel it's so hard to say. I think if England can stop Mbappe, they win that game.
I think they'll win. I think they'll win. I don't think it'll be. I think they might. No, I think they'll win it. I do think they'll win it. So do you think England as well, Max?
Yeah, I think so.
Don't need you, Matt. Do you need to win that? You can just abstain if you want. What do you think?
No comment. You two outvoted me.
It's moot anyway. England are going through in our bracket to play Portugal.
I was going to say France, but Max had a great argument there. They weren't looking particularly great against Poland, and Poland have been pretty awful. So
Yeah.
I'm going to go England.
Fair enough. That's fine. So England versus Portugal semi-final. What do I reckon?
England.
Yeah, I think so too, because it's also the same. Portugal beating Switzerland very easily, but I mean it's Switzerland. I mean they're a good European team, but
they're okay.
Yeah,
In the game sometimes, so they're not that good.
No,
Like,
I think England because of their like squad depth and
there's England Brazil final. What are
Brazil?
Yeah,
I think so.
Brazil.
I think so. Maybe.
I think Brazil's team is just the way they've seemed to have something going on at the minute, didn't they? The way that the group is together. They arrived to the stadium the other day, literally dancing outside the stage. Do you remember?
They love their dance.
Destroyed, don't they?
Oh, they love their dancing.
There seems to be a good togetherness at the minute, and they've got some top players. They probably should have won the Copa America as well. So I'm going to go Brazil now.
Imagine.
I think so too.
90th minute Bruno Guimaraes winner.
Sorry, Matt. I would just see Bruno scoring.
I'd cry but smile at the same time. I'd be
laughing but crying. Well, look, I'll ask you a few quick fire ones to finish off. There's no game tonight because the World Cup, we're not fully back to normal yet. Go back to normal when Newcastle go back to playing with our name that tune and other such games. But we'll have a few quick fire things. So you can think about it if you want, but sort of quick as we can. Your biggest disappointment, it can be a player or it can be a team of the World Cup so far. Max, we'll go with you first.
Uruguay.
Oh, good shout.
Because there were a lot of when you looked at their starting 11 or what they could put out, they looked really. Everyone predicted them as like a dark horse, and I think they just completely flopped.
Is Nunes not very good, or is he good? I can't make my mind up.
I don't know yet. It's hard to tell. Every time I see him, he's kind of mid.
I think he's raw.
He's very raw. He is. Like, I'm not saying he's bad. I can't make my mind up because I've watched him so much Liverpool. He looks really good. He's absolutely rapid. And yet sometimes I watch him going, he's rubbish. He's just not very good. Yeah. Uruguay is a great shout, Max. Actually, never even thought about that. Matt, what about you? Your biggest disappointment so far?
Belgium. Without a doubt. Belgium were atrocious. That was their golden generation. And they've literally embarrassed themselves. Kevin De Bruyne was probably thinking, well, he even come out and said the squad are too old. And he's such a good player. And why would you might think that, but why would you come out and say that? It just seems a little bit.
He leaked it, didn't he? He's a leaker. Everyone's discussed this. He is 100% the person that's leaked all the information.
Yeah, it must be. After Belgium, they've got a good squad, but they're probably slightly old. He probably is right, but. Yeah. That should be at least doing a little bit better than what they were.
My biggest surprise is he's 31. De Bruyne. Mm-hmm. He's 31. I was like, I thought he was like 25. I don't know why I thought that, but he's been a long. It made me very happy because he won't be as good as he is forever and ever, and that's good for us if we're going up against City in a couple of years and down the line. He'll not be around forever because he's absolutely phenomenal. Okay, your biggest surprise package again could be a player, could be a team. Matt, we'll start with you.
Team, I'm going to go Japan. I just felt as
though Japan, he agrees with you.
I know they went out recently, but they still did a lot better than I thought they were going to do. They impressed me, and it was a shame they couldn't go just that one step further. And yeah, I'm going to go Japan.
Cool. Max, what about you?
I had to say Morocco because we're sitting here and they're in a quarterfinal now. I was like, what? If someone told me that before, I would be no, that's not.
Well, a couple of podcasts did say they were amongst the dark horses of a couple of good players. I don't think they expect them to hit the quarterfinals.
Yeah, I didn't know they were so good, like a good unit. That's what surprised me.
Lovely shirts, by the way. Really like the shirt. I love that Puma logo with the actual Puma written on it. It's very retro. I love it. I don't like Puma shirts particularly because thought the ones did for us were all right, but I like that a lot. That's very nice. Okie dokie. The best game that you've seen It could be one of them on tonight, but hopefully we haven't missed too much. But the best game you've seen?
Ooh, I've missed so many games.
Yeah.
Like there was one day it was like 2 games. I think it was like African team, like Ghana and
Right.
Serbia was 3-3, and Cameroon, or else it was maybe Cameroon Serbia. They played like a lot of goals.
It was Cameroon Serbia 3-0, and
yeah, that's the one.
Yeah, the guy scored class chip. It was really good for
Yeah,
Cameroon.
it was super cool.
It's 6-1 to Portugal, by the way. So
yeah, I saw the goal. It
Who
was
scored?
crazy goal. Rafael.
Lau.
Super good.
Not
goal.
Ronaldo anyway.
That's all
Matt,
right.
what's your game of the tournament so far? It's Portugal tonight.
It was Japan. Who were Japan playing before Croatia?
Oh, shit.
Spain, was it right? Spain.
Possibly. I don't know.
The last game was Spain.
Right.
It's easy to go for one of the England games, but none of the games have really stood out. I quite like an upset, and there's been a few upsets, but watching Japan was quite fun. So I'd have to go with that game, Japan.
I quite like the Saudi Arabia game against Argentina, just for like the shock of like, and I'm as I said, I want Argentina to probably win it and do very well, but it was just amazing seeing they were really good and they went at them. I couldn't quite believe what I was seeing. Yeah, it was really interesting. Okay, well, look, we'll finish off with one wee question. How do you feel? We obviously haven't been there, but from what we've seen in the coverage and people talking about it, there was so much chat about Qatar and the location. And I don't mean like should it be there or shouldn't. Like everyone agrees probably shouldn't be there. But I mean in terms of like how it's been set up with everyone in the same country, it's quite close to each other and things like that, and the coverage. How have you found that generally, Matt?
I saw the ITV presenter talking about it, and he spoke on he thinks it's a good idea because obviously you can commute. Everything's quite close together. You can commute to the majority of the stadiums. You can actually see a couple of games on the same day, which is quite good.
Cool.
So obviously the negatives would be you'd like, if you used to do it in, let's say, England, if you're doing it all in London, then Newcastle aren't going to have a chance to watch, or people from the Northeast will have a chance to watch the World Cup. So there's pros and cons to it. I think it's been, apart from all the the talk of human rights, and which is rightly so, it's been a bit of a shame. Well, I feel like the tournament's been pretty good, all things considering. It's been great to see how unpredictable it's been as well. You don't have a clue who's going to win some of these games.
Yeah, for me, that's the one thing that stands in my mind. It's been it's one of the strangest World Cup, because it's on during the year, but it's been so unpredictable. Like you sort of go into games, who's going to win? It's like the championship or something. You just don't know who's going to win a game. The girls tonight, Spain were playing, obviously got beat, but I was like, Morocco would totally win this. Like totally. Tonight was, I know that they got absolutely thumped, but I could definitely have seen Switzerland beating Portugal. It wasn't outside. You were like, oh no way. Totally could see it. It's mad. Costa Rica came so close to beating Germany. I know it was 4-2, but it was 2-2 for so long. And do you remember there was that screenshot where at one point, I think it was for 5 minutes, Costa Rica and was it Japan in their group?
Yeah, that was great.
We're going through, and Germany and Spain, who are now both out, we're going out at the group stage, which is just crazy. So yeah, Max, to finish us off tonight, what have your thoughts been on sort of the World Cup in general?
Yeah, I'm still against it being played now in the winter.
Yeah,
it still goes against like the core of how I see football and how it's played. I also don't like the fact that it's so many games. It's been really empty at the stadiums. I know that's often a problem at World Cups. It's hard for like African people to travel to certain places and fill the stadium up. But I think it's been really taking some of the games. It's like big nations, it's been some work. Yeah. It's of course it's really sad Sweden's not there, but
Just remark saying Max is just better because Sweden aren't in the tournament, which is probably true, to be fair.
Yeah, I mean it would have been a lot more fun for me, of course, but other than, I think even if we've been playing, it's still the same. It feels weird. I'm starting to warm up to it now because it's getting closer, and I can actually see a lot of the games now because it's like afternoon and late night kickoffs. So I don't miss every game, and that's of course beneficial for me to watch them and enjoy it. And now when we get to the knockout stages, it's really nice to see the good teams play against each other, and that's like what the World Cup is about. And also to see Morocco today beat Spain on penalties, that's like for me World Cup feeling. You know, the little nation doing an upset. That's for me. It's what the World Cup is all about.
Yeah, Professor Mark made a good point there. The 10 a.m. games have been great. It reminded me of Japan. No, sorry, not Japan. South Korea, that World Cup, where games were on in the morning and it's brilliant. Like you're eating your breakfast.
Yeah, you wake up and there's TV.
You would be eating your breakfast, sort of. Well, at that age, I was in school, so it was the summer, so you were eating your breakfast with nothing to do, and the football was amazing. So yeah, the sun's out, and yeah, it's just class. And I do like that. That is fun. And that must be what it's quite like if you live in a different country and you're watching the Premier League. You know, I mean, like Australia or America, depending on time zones, that might happen. But yeah, look, it's been good, and we've all sort of said a couple of times, it's getting tasty now. It's just getting to the good bit. I think we're all ready for Newcastle to be back, and glad we're playing on Thursday to sort of relight those flames a wee bit. I know I've been watching all the goals from this year on a loop pretty much because I miss watching them and I miss the team so much. So hopefully we'll get back to that. Thanks very much, gents, for tonight. It was really good to catch up after a good long while out and have a good chat about everything, including Newcastle and the World Cup, and there'll be a couple more podcasts during the week, one after the game this week. But we will see you all next week for more chat about Newcastle. Thank you very much for watching. Good night.